This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show, Hysteria, another new show that, of course, is fictionalizing the satanic panic that the government created back in the 1980s. It is very important to pay attention to a lot of these shows that are coming out that are bringing attention once again to the satanic panic, because you may have noticed in your day-to-day life, if you do talk about some of these things that are going on, if you do talk about Satanism and the occult in movies, in music videos, the stuff that I expose on my channel, on the website, then I'm sure you've dealt with people who push back. I'm sure you've dealt with people who have even mentioned the satanic panic. And of course, they've all been programmed to say that. When the satanic panic occurred, people were waking up to things like McMartin and some of the pedophilia and the satanic covens and rings that were being found and discovered in people's towns because ritual sacrifices were occurring. And people were seeing sigils and all sorts of bizarre behavior around them. So the government, of course, stepped in because they couldn't have you figure out that Satanism was real. They had to step in and create a psychological operation by telling people it was all satanic panic. It was all make-believe, that Christians were thinking this stuff in their own heads. That way, if you ever were to get through to somebody out there, they would have this wall in place to automatically dismiss what you're saying and then call it the satanic panic. So I'm going to play for you a trailer from another show in the year 2024 that's giving attention to the satanic panic in the 1980s, and that's being done by design. Why is it being done by design? Because again, we're seeing a lot of people realizing and recognizing what's happening around them, and you're also seeing people using the term, once again, satanic panic, to automatically dismiss it. Before I play the trailer, let me read to you the plot of the show. When a beloved varsity quarterback disappears during the satanic panic of the late 1980s, a struggling high school heavy metal band of outcasts realize they can capitalize on the town's sudden interest in the occult by building a reputation as a satanic metal band until a bizarre series of murders, kidnappings, and reported supernatural activity triggers a leather-studded witch hunt that leads directly back to them. A very common theme that we're seeing in shows, even like Stranger Things, which I'll show you after the fact. But here is the trailer. They don't reveal much in the trailer, but I'm gonna show it to you right now.
Ooh, baby, do you know that that's love? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. They say in heaven, love comes first. Ooh, heaven is a place on
So that's the trailer or the teaser video that came out for Hysteria, which will be on Peacock. A lot of people are talking about it because people like these shows that have a lot of nostalgia to them. And the nostalgia is the theme of the 80s, dressing in the 80s, the music of the 80s. We saw that with Stranger Things. And we saw the same plot in Stranger Things, the last season of Stranger Things, which I covered, right? We had a character who is being quote unquote framed by the Christians and the conservatives and the jocks. Notice that theme of the high school varsity quarterback going missing, right? And everyone's going to think it's the metal band, right? It even ties into the West Memphis 3 narrative. Everyone's going to think it's the kids in the Metallica shirt. They're doing this deliberately. They're trying to create stereotypes and make this a dismissive topic. They certainly don't want you to realize that your local political leaders, that your political leaders in Congress, that your corporation CEOs, that all your Hollywood actors and all your music industry tycoons are all involved in human sacrifice and child sex trafficking, which results in child sacrifice. They don't want you to realize that. So they want you to think that this is all Panic and Hysteria, which is why they're coming out with the TV show Hysteria. It just ingrains it more in people's heads. And when the show comes out, I'm sure I'll be covering some of the specific episodes so that you can see how they're pushing that narrative, and it works. You might look at it and say that doesn't push that narrative, but think about how they've created stereotypes in our lives, right? There's all sorts of racial stereotypes that we would only know about because of the mainstream media, because of stand-up comedians, right? There's all these stereotypes like the movie The Breakfast Club created, right? The jock and the nerd and the princess and the gothic girl. These are things that they've created psychologically. And then they try to get you trapped inside one versus the other. Which character are you? Are you the jock from The Breakfast Club? Are you the dorky kid from who do you relate to the most, right? They're trying to stereotype people and pinpoint people into specific groups. So let me play for you, if you don't remember some of these clips from Stranger Things. It's the same exact plot. It's literally the same exact plot. When people go missing or people die on Stranger Things, who do they blame it on? Well, they blame it on the kid who plays Dungeons and Dragons. They blame it on the kid who listens to satanic music. And of course, they're all wrong about it because the hero has to constantly be the satanic characters, right? They victimize them like they do in our society now. They make it seem like they're just being victimized because of how they dress or the things that they like, and they're really innocent. And it's the Christians, and it's the conservatives, and it's the jocks who are pointing a finger at them just because they like heavy metal music, so to speak. So here's a clip from Stranger Things, same exact theme.
Dungeons and Dragons. First regarded as a harmless game of make-believe, now has both parents and psychologists concerned, saying it promotes satanic worship, ritual sacrifice.
Want something, freak?
If I may interject, gentlemen.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't bear to listen to any more excuses and lies. Last night I saw things I can't explain. The police don't want to believe. And things that I don't want to believe myself. And I've come to accept an awful truth. These murders are ritualistic sacrifices. We've all heard about how satanic cults are spreading to our country. And Eddie Munson, he's the leader of one of these cults. They call themselves Hellfire.
The Hellfire isn't a cult, it's a club for nerds.
A club, a harmless club. That's what they want you to think. It's a lie. A lie designed to conceal the truth. I came overcome with this feeling of hopelessness. Then I remembered Romans 12:21. Not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It's in this room, right here, right now, to ask for your help, to join me in this fight. Let us cast out this evil and save Hawkins.
So the reason we're seeing more and more of the satanic panic, again, like I had said earlier in the video, is because they need to re-ingrain this into people's minds. They need to get this same exact psyop they did in the 80s, which caused people in the 90s to forget about what they were waking up to in the 80s, which was that a lot of children were being trafficked out of a lot of different schools, preschools around the country. And suddenly people started realizing, whoa, Satanism's a real thing. There was a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of people waking up then, and they were able to stop that and suffocate that movement because of the satanic panic, by putting all this propaganda on Oprah, on Geraldo, where they came out, and they made it seem like, well, the parents were just trying to make money, and everybody out there got angered over that and just began little by little dismissing it. And then now we've seen a reemergence really since Pizzagate and people waking up to Satanism. Channels like mine on YouTube, which amassed a lot of views over the years back in, the 2015, 2016, 2017 time period. A lot of people started waking up to this stuff. So now they're re-engaging with the satanic panic for the younger audiences out there. So let me just read to you what they released about the show. A new TV series set in fictional Michigan town of Happy Hollow unfolds during the so-called satanic panic of the late 1980s with what promises to be thrills and chills. Hysteria, which premieres October 18th on Peacock, follows what happens when a high school varsity quarterback disappears, as I read to you earlier. Then a string of murders, kidnappings, and rumored occurrences ends up drawing them into what the streaming platform calls a leather-studded witch hunt, described by Peacock as a drama with chills, laughs, and music for parents and children of a suitable age to enjoy together. Of course, it's about murder and kidnappings. Yeah, it's great for the kids. Bring the kids, Remember the days where we used to have rating systems? I mean, I don't know what they have anymore, but I remember like when I was younger, and I'm sure a lot of you remember, like you couldn't go to an R-rated film unless you had a supervision and a parent there, and a parent would even have to show their ID. I mean, it's amazing now, right? Hey, it's got murders, kidnappings, rumored otherworldly occurrences. Bring your whole family. It's music for parents and the children to enjoy together, right? I mean, at what point do you say, yeah, maybe kids shouldn't watch it, right? Maybe when you see the abundance of crime occurring around us, you could start realizing why in the 70s and the 80s, parents were fighting against the television, fighting against video games and all that stuff, right? Because they were realizing that it was having a psychological effect on them. In fact, it was training and teaching them these things that they would never even know about, right? I keep mentioning in some of my videos, if you haven't heard, when I talk about how they've been pushing true crimes, just when you hear any of these stories, if you get any of these things recommended to you from any of these law or crime channels, because I get recommended those sometimes because of some of the topics that I research when I'm doing my videos, which involve some satanic crimes in the past, you'll see like these just basic domestic crimes, right? A wife and a husband or whoever, boyfriend and girlfriend, and the person is dismembering the other. Now, where in the world would somebody know how to dispose of a body, right? Think about that. Every time you see one of these stories, ask yourself that. Oh, it's just some random guy and his wife. Oh, the wife killed the husband. Let's use that example because it happens both ways. And then somehow the wife conveniently knows how to dismember the body and dispose of the body. So how would they know that? Would you know that? I don't know how to do that, right? But when you start seeing these crime shows, you say, oh, that's how they did this, that's how they did that. And then that starts planting seeds in their heads, right? And this unhinged behavior, we know what's going on with vaccines and 5G and the chemicals that are getting dumped on us. But think about the other perspective, because these shows do have an effect on people psychologically. They do affect them. They plant seeds in their heads. So for anyone out there to say, oh, it's fun for the whole family, at what point do you draw a line and say, hey, yeah, well, they want your kids to watch this show because they want your kids to relate to the character who starts the satanic band because, of course, he'll be the hero in the show. And they want to victimize that character and tell the kids out there the lesson, which is don't judge a book by its cover when it comes to a Satanist, because they're not really involved in human sacrifice and kidnapping and abduction. But the fact of the matter is they are. And that's why they use these terms like witch hunt in the synopsis of the show. And that's why we hear it in our everyday lives. We hear it on the news every day, right? Witch hunt, witch hunt, witch hunt, right? But what really occurred in witch hunt times when there was witch hunts? They weren't really hunts per se. Witches were being executed. Why? Because witches were caught practicing human sacrifice. Kids were getting abducted. So the civilians were like, well, we don't even need a trial. I mean, this woman went and took this kid. Okay. Or this guy went and took this kid. All right. Private justice. We can't have witches and Satanists in our town. But today in our world now, they've, of course, inverted everything and make people believe that Satanists aren't real, that it's cosplay, that people who identify and go to satanic churches and temples don't really believe in the devil. It's all make-believe. It's more of a political thing. And these people out there believe it. They believe it. And then they brainwash them with stuff like, oh, you know what happened to the Knights Templar? Yeah, the Knights Templar were murdered. Oh, why were they murdered? Well, because they made stuff up about them worshiping Baphomet. Oh, right. And all the witches, it was all make-believe. Nobody had anything better to do with their time. They were just going around blaming people for being witches and Satanists and killing them for no reason other than the fact that they smelled and probably look really ugly. Because let's just assume most Satanists and witches do. I mean, if you've ever seen a witch, ain't much to look at. So it's pretty unbelievable that we're still dealing with it, but we're seeing an uptick now in shows that are promoting the Satanic Panic. And I'll do episodes, I'm sure, when the show comes out. Probably watch it. I don't like to watch too many of these, but I'll probably watch this because this is something that I want to cover to at least help people, understand why they put this stuff out. People just go, oh, it's just entertain, right? It's the same exact plot. Literally, it's the same plot as the last season of Stranger Things, which just came out like a year or two ago. Same exact plot. I mean, right? But they need a whole new series on it, right? So they can brainwash you into thinking if you happen to come across someone like me or anyone who listens to my channel who's talking about these topics, that they'll be trained to automatically do what? Dismiss it and then say the word Satanic Panic, because that's how mind control works. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.